Right. So welcome everyone to this webinar about studies at Lund University in Sweden. My name is Johan Gunnarsson and I am here today to provide you with some facts and information about applying for studies at Lund, how to prepare, how to find information, what programs we have, the entry requirements, student budget, student life, etc. All the things we think are good to know about before you actually make your application here to Lund University, perhaps later this year. So the way it will work today is that I will first share a PPT, a presentation for you guys, where I will go through what I think is kind of the most basic and important steps of the application procedure. And then after that, I would like to welcome you all to ask questions in the Zoom Q&A. The chat is not possible to use at this point, but the Zoom Q&A is available for you guys to use and ask questions about studying in Lund and coming to Sweden. Please do not raise your hand in the presentation because I cannot do anything about that. So if you have something that you would like to communicate to me, please use the Zoom Q&A. But first off, I'm going to start to share my screen, and I have a PPT for you guys where, as I said, I will go through the most important steps of the application process and tell you some facts about Lund University. Now, I hope you can all see the presentation here, the PPT that I have shared. So again, my name is Johan Gunnarsson. I work at the Division of External Relations here at Lund University. And my team is called International Marketing and Recruitment, and we work to promote our international degree programs, and that is why I'm here today. So let's just kick off with some basic facts about Lund University. You may know or already quite a lot about Lund University, or you may not know so much. So I'm here today to just provide the basics, basically. So Lund University was founded in 1666. So it's one of the oldest universities in Northern Europe. It's a very historic university town that we are in. It's also a very large university, one of the biggest in Scandinavia. We have around 46,000 students currently and 8,400 employees. 10% of our employees are full professors. So we're quite highly ranked. According to QS and US News, we're a world top 100 university. And we're also, this is something that we're very proud of, I have to say, the 49th most international university in the world currently, according to Times Higher Education. And this is, I think, if you're asking us about what are our key selling points, I would say probably at the top of the list would be the fact that we are so international. And people who have studied here, they all tell us it was great. They made created a first social network of friends coming from all continents in the world and many different countries, of course. We are a truly international university, something we're very proud of. Of course, we have a lot of degree programs, full degree programs to offer as well in a wide range of areas. Currently, we have around 130 master's degree programs taught in English and 9 bachelor's programs taught in English. And also, of course, we have several hundred, probably over 1,000 single subject courses that are taught in English. But I would say for most international applicants, it's the full degree programs that are probably most interesting. So there's a lot to choose from, actually. Now, Lund is a public university. Like most universities in Sweden, we're a public university. We're a comprehensive university. We have 9 faculties, and we are also highly research intensive. So 46,000 students and 8,400 employees. It's one of the biggest universities in Scandinavia. Now, Lund is an historic university town, and this is also where we have our main campus. Most of our students study in the city of Lund. The location of Lund, maybe you know, maybe you don't, I'm going to tell you anyway. It's in the south of Sweden, very close to the 3rd largest city in Sweden, which is called Malmö. And obviously also very close, as you can see in this map, to the city of Copenhagen, the capital of Denmark. So if you prepare to come to Sweden and join us here in Lund, you would not probably fly through Stockholm. you would fly to Copenhagen, Denmark, and then from Copenhagen International Airport, Kastrup, you can take a train to Lund, which takes around 30 to 40 minutes. So if you're making plans to visit us here in Lund, either as a tourist or as a student, you would travel through Copenhagen most likely. Lund is a very old historic town. It has more than 1,000 years of history. It's one of the oldest towns in Sweden, actually. But it's not so big. The population, a bit more than 100,000 people. But you can imagine yourself, the university has 46,000 students. So this is very much a typical university town, I would say, where most people who live here are associated with the university in some way or other, either as a student or as an employee. Because the university conducts a lot of research, there are many international companies that have their research and development units here in Lund. For example, Sony, Ericsson, the telecommunications company, Tetra Pak, Alfa Laval, etc. And all of these large multinational companies have very close links to Lund University. Some of our staff members work part-time in these companies, and it's also very common that especially master's degree students, when they're doing their degree projects at the end of the program, that they do this in collaboration with companies that are located here in Lund. But Lund is not the only campus we have. We also have another campus in the city of Malmö, as I mentioned just now. Malmö is around 10-15 minutes away by train, so it's very close by. In Malmö, we have our fine and performing arts departments, and also you can study public health at the university hospital in Malmö. And then, of course, we have a third campus in the city of Helsingborg, slightly to the north of Lund by the coast. It's a lovely town. And in the city of Helsingborg, we have service management and energy efficient and environmental building design programs. So these programs are there. So I think it's important for you to, when you're looking for our programs and you see, oh, I like this program, that you find out as well at that point where the program is actually offered. I would say, of course, more than 90% of our programs are actually offered in the Lund campus, but some programs are in Helsingborg and some programs are in the city of Malmö. So I told you we are very proud to be an international university. Around 23% of our students are international, they're non-Swedish. And in the master's degree programs, 60% of the students are international. Now, if you look at the typical kind of makeup of a program in terms of where students come from, it's quite common that you have, 15, 20 different nationalities inside a single program. So you will meet people from all over the world, all continents, basically, the Americas, Africa, Europe, and Asia, Australasia, etc. We have students coming from all over. So we're a very popular choice for students, international students who are applying to Sweden, to a Swedish university. We, by far, get the largest number of applications from international students, and we're very proud of that. We also work with many international universities in other countries, of course. Top research universities in most countries all over the world. And it's possible for some of our students to go there on an exchange. Now, this would happen typically at bachelor's level for the most part, but also within some master's degree programs, it's possible to do an exchange semester at one of our partner universities around the world. So as I said, 60% of the students at master's level are non-Swedish, they're international. Now, I'm just going to give you some information about the higher education system in Sweden, because it may be structured in a way that's slightly different from the country where you are coming from. At the bachelor's level or an undergraduate degree, you need to study full-time for 3 years, and the bachelor's degree is worth 180 ECTS. I know in many countries around the world, it's common that the bachelor's degree would be a 4-year degree, but here it is a 3-year degree, as in most of Europe. For the postgraduate degrees, master's level, we have two kinds. Basically, the most common would be a 2-year master program. The 2-year master programs are by far the most common postgraduate degrees. But then some programs, particularly in business administration, are 1-year master's degree programs. And they're more intense, I would say. We get this question quite often, what's the difference? The one-year master's degree programs are designed for students who want to, take a master's degree. It's very intense, and then you graduate from the program and you enter the labor market, basically. And also, as I said, we are a research university. We have lots of PhD students here. And if you do decide to embark on a career as a PhD student, you are looking at spending, I would say, at least 4 years at the minimum as a PhD student before you graduate. So this is the degree structure we have here in Sweden. Now, we have many programs, almost, I would say, around 140 programs at bachelor's and master's level that are taught completely in English in a wide range of subject areas. We have too many programs to fit on one PPT slide, basically. So I would have to refer you to a website for detailed information about the programs we have. But here you can see how the programs are distributed within the different subject areas. So we have architecture and design, business and economics, engineering, technology, environment, sustainability programs, fine and performing arts, we have humanities, we have international studies and social sciences, we have law degrees, we have degrees in medicine, and we have degrees in science. So all of these areas are represented here. And I think I could say there's almost something for every type of student in Lund. We're a very, very comprehensive university, probably the most comprehensive university in Sweden. So 9 faculties and more than 30 world-leading research fields. And this is kind of interesting. Maybe you're not so interested in research, but it is very important for us. It's in our DNA. We are a research-intensive university, and most of our professors are also active researchers. So the people you will have as teachers in the programs, they are active researchers. So they will be able to share with you the latest knowledge and latest findings in their fields. Now, if you are thinking about applying to a master's degree program, I think the majority of our international students are to be found at master's level. So most of you today here, I will assume, are interested in master's level. So the admission requirements, the general admission requirement would be that you need a bachelor's degree from an internationally recognized university in either your home country or some other country where you studied. You need to be able to prove your English language proficiency. And I'm going to tell you a bit later about how you can prove your English language proficiency. But it is very common for international students in particular to do this via English standard tests like IELTS or TOEFL. There are other tests that sometimes are common in some countries that you need to take before you can enter those universities, like GRE or GMAT, but those tests are not required here. You do not have to take a GRE or GMAT to be admitted to one of our programs. However, some programs in business, like finance, for instance, for them, it could be helpful if you have a GMAT result and you are happy with the result and you want to share it with us, you can do so. But it is not an entry requirement. You do not need to have it in order to be considered. Now, those are kind of the general requirements, but then most of our master's degree programs will also have specific entry requirements that are related to that program. So just as a very basic example, if I want to take a master's degree program in, say, biology, of course, they would require that I need a bachelor's degree with a major in biology. But the entry requirements of the programs we have, they vary quite a lot. Sometimes they require just you have one course or a few courses in a certain subject to be eligible. Sometimes you need a full major in a certain subject to be eligible. And in some programs, they can admit students from many different kinds of academic backgrounds. So you need to find for the program that you are interested in, or the programs rather, what are the exact entry requirements? And then you have to ask yourself, do I fulfill these entry requirements? And it's necessary for you to establish this before you make an application, because if it's clear that you do not fulfill the entry requirements as they are stated on our website, then we unfortunately cannot offer you admission, even if you are a terrific student. So it's very, very important to fulfill the entry requirements of the programs that you apply to. And of course, at the master's level, we can offer conditional acceptance. So it is possible for you to make your application while you are a final year bachelor student in your home country or where you are currently studying. That is possible. Now, you need to provide documents, of course, in support of your application if you apply for a master's program. So your official transcripts for all the completed semesters that you have done so far. If maybe now you're a final year student, that you have all semesters up until the last year, I would assume. And if you have completed your program already, your bachelor's program, you have all the semesters, all the years covered already in your final transcript. You also need to provide your official diploma, your graduation or degree certificate, whatever it is that you are awarded when you graduate from your bachelor's degree program in your country. If you have not yet finished your degree when you make your application, we need a document from your university, an official document, saying that you are currently enrolled as a final year student and you are expected to graduate before you join us here in Sweden. Now, I want to say with these official documents that are issued by your home university, depending on the country and the university, you may have your own native language there and also perhaps English. It's almost always required that you provide these official documents both in your native language and in an official translation into English then. Especially for the diplomas and graduation/degree certificates. Those documents are always required in both the original language version and in English. For the transcripts, it varies between countries, but I would say, just to be sure, as a general kind of rule of thumb, it's better to provide them both in your native language and in English if you didn't study in English before. Now, you also need to provide a copy of your ID or passport. Your local identification is okay if you don't have a passport yet. You need to provide proof of English language proficiency. I'm going to talk a bit more about that later. And also the programs that you apply to, they may require you to submit so-called program-specific documents. Now, again, it's different from program to program here in Lund. Some programs, they don't require any special documents, but most of them do. Especially documents like what we call a statement of purpose, which is really a kind of a personal statement. And it could sometimes be that you need to provide a CV. And for the art and design programs, you need to provide a portfolio, for instance. So you need to find out in the program information what special documents are required for these particular programs that you're applying to. Now, for non-EU EEA students, there are tuition fees for our degree programs here in Lund. And the fees are different from program to program, or subject area to subject area, perhaps you might say. So at the cheaper end, we have programs in, for example, the humanities and social sciences, and these cost around 110,000 Swedish krona per year. Now, I understand if you don't know the conversion rate to the Swedish krona from your local currency right now, but I can tell you, just as a kind of a reference, that 10 Swedish krona is approximately $1 US. So 110,000 Swedish krona would be 11,000 US dollars. For business programs, it's 120 to 130,000 Swedish krona per year, so 12,000 to 13,000 US dollars. And here you can see on this list the approximate cost of the programs within different subject areas for the master's level. So these are the yearly tuition fee rates that we have. Now, for bachelor's level, maybe we have some students here today or future applicants who are interested in one of our bachelor's degree programs. And in order to be qualified to make an application to a bachelor's degree program, you must have successfully completed your upper secondary school studies or high school, colloquially, in your home country or some other country before you can make an application. You need to provide proof of English language proficiency, and it's the same as for master's level. For example, IELTS 6.5 or TOEFL 90. Some programs, or all programs rather, have actually specific requirements for certain subjects. Let's say, for example, that I want to apply to our bachelor's degree programs in physics. Then I would need a certain level in physics and mathematics and also chemistry from my upper secondary school studies in order to be qualified for these programs. The admission to our bachelor's program is based 100% on your final upper secondary school GPA. So that is how you compete, basically. If you have very strong, very good grades, you have a chance to be considered for admission to these programs, provided that you fulfill the requirements, of course. Some programs in fine art and music, they also have interviews, and they need to see your portfolio before they can offer you admission. There's just one note I want to make here that is very important. Only applicants that have complete upper secondary school merits by the document deadline, our document deadline, can be considered for admission. So we cannot offer conditional admission to bachelor's level programs. You must have finished your bachelor's degree, your upper secondary school studies before you can apply to one of our bachelor's degree programs. Now, the required documents for a bachelor's application, you need a complete transcript of record for all years of upper secondary school. All years, not just the final year. All years of upper secondary school must be included. If you have been awarded a certificate of graduation or a diploma when you graduate from high school, this must be provided as well. And again, as with master's level, it's best if you provide these documents both in the original language and in an official translation. Most of the time, your school at home can provide this, and this is also the best if they can issue these documents in the native language and also in an English translation directly. Otherwise, you're going to have to need an official translation company to do this work. We need a copy of your passport or ID and also English language proficiency. This is something that you must be able to prove by our document deadline, so we cannot extend this deadline. The tuition fees for the bachelor's program, it also varies between different subject areas. So between 100,000 Swedish krona, which is around 10,000 US dollars, to up to 180,000 Swedish krona per year for biomedicine, which is around 18,000 US dollars. So depending on the major, depending on the subject, they are slightly different. Now, the English language proficiency thing is something that I want to kind of discuss a little bit, because many people are kind of confused by this. What is it? Sometimes you will see you need English 6 to be eligible for university studies in Sweden, and you wonder, what is English 6 exactly, and how can I prove it? Well, there are a few different ways that you can prove that you have the required English language proficiency. I would say the most common way is probably for international students to take an English language proficiency test like IELTS or TOEFL. And you need a score of 6.5 on the IELTS test with no section below 5.5. And for the TOEFL test, you need a combined score of 90 with at least 20 in the written section. But sometimes students have studied in English before, maybe in their home country. English is the official language, and then of course it's enough to provide your previous academic merits for us to approve you for English language proficiency. So if you have studied at upper secondary school level or at university level in English before, there is a quite strong chance that you will get approved for English language proficiency, provided that you fulfill the requirements of the university admissions in Sweden. So I would like to advise you, if you have doubts and questions about English language proficiency, to go to the University Admissions in Sweden website and click on the English language requirement to see if you actually fulfill the requirements as they are stated on this website. Because what they say, University Admissions in Sweden, we follow. So we don't have any kind of different interpretation or different rules. The University Admissions in Sweden, they set the rules at the national level, and we follow those. Now, just a few things that I think personally that it's essential for you to be aware of before you make your application. So first of all, the entry requirements. Now, these vary from program to program, but it's very important for you to find out the exact entry requirements for the program or programs that you are interested in, because they will tell you what you need from your academic background. A certain number of credits in one or several subjects is very common that we require for a master's level. It is true that some of our programs, a handful, they can accept applications from students coming from many different academic backgrounds, but the vast majority of our programs will have very detailed entry requirements that you must fulfill in order for you to be considered for admission. Now, students often want to know how we select our students or select among the applicants, rather, who gets admitted and who doesn't get admitted. And we are very transparent about this because every program at Lund University will have official so-called selection criteria. And these can be found on each program webpage. Now, the selection criteria, that is where we tell you how students are selected to a certain program. And these vary from program to program. So it's good to find, if you're applying or considering several different programs, I think you should check the entry requirements and the selection criteria for all of them, because there might be slight differences. It is, of course, very common that students are selected based on their academic merits. You know, if you have a very strong academic background with good grades from a good university anywhere in the world, it's obviously that is a very good position to be in, to be selected for admission. But it's not, you know, always the only thing that we look at, because we, for example, look at the extra documents that you may be required to send. For example, the so-called statement of purpose, and maybe you have reference letters, or your English language proficiency, and so on. So many different things can be important here, and you can check the selection criteria to find out exactly how they admit students to this particular program that you're interested in. Now, again, the program-specific documents play a very important part here. So please do check the exact documents that you need to provide for the programs that you're interested in, the program-specific documents. You can find all this information on our website, and you check the program that you're interested in and find details about the program-specific documents that you will need to provide just for this program. Now, the program-specific documents are unique for each and every program that you are maybe wanting to apply to, but it's, according to my experience, it's quite common that students would want to apply to more than one program at Lund University. And then you would have to provide one unique set of program-specific documents per program. I hope you understand this. Now, also, university admissions in Sweden, I'm going to tell you a bit more about their role in the admission process, but they do have instructions for students based on previous country of study, basically. So that means that if you studied in a certain country before, they will have special information for you based on that country. So let's say that I am German, I studied in Germany, then I would have to go to University Admissions in Sweden website and check for the country-specific information for Germany. If I studied in South Africa before, I would need to find the information about students from South Africa, etc. And this is your previous merit country, your previous country of study. It's not about your nationality here. So if I am German and I studied in South Africa before, then I would have to check the information for South Africa. It's very important that you look at this information before you make an application, because they have very detailed information about eligibility, basically what is needed for students from this country to be eligible for studies in Sweden, and what kind of documents I need to provide to prove my eligibility. So please take a moment to search for this information on the University Admissions in Sweden website to make sure that you're eligible. Now, we also have, I said before, we are a strong research universities. That means that a lot of students are here as PhD students, and many international ones as well. I believe around 50% or so of our PhD students are non-Swedish. So there's a very strong chance for international students to join a PhD program in Lund. But there is no centralized application system. So the PhD positions are advertised by the faculty or the department that would host the PhD position directly when they have funding for a PhD position. And this is something that can happen at any time during the year for most faculties. That it could happen that they have a position that they want to advertise now. It could be in August, it could be in November, etc. So our list of vacancies for PhD position is something that you would have to check on a regular basis to see if there's anything that would be suitable for you. Of course, admission to a PhD position typically require that you have completed both an undergraduate degree and a postgraduate degree in a relevant major, of course. Plus, you need to prove your English language proficiency. PhD students in Sweden, they are typically employed by the university, and they also receive a monthly salary. So it's like a job, basically. And you will need at least 4 years to complete a PhD program. That is the typical length of the PhD program here in Lund, for a full program, of course. Sometimes it happens that students have funding from their home country. Maybe their government has a program that will fund PhD students to go abroad. And if that is the case, you may contact the relevant department at Lund University and discuss the opportunities they may have available for you. There's more information on our website for PhD studies, of course, lunduniversity.lu.se/international admission/PhD studies. And there I would advise you to first and foremost check the kind of general information, of course, but also then go on to the faculty that you are interested in. Let's say that you want to do a PhD in engineering, then the Faculty of Engineering, they will have their own webpage about PhD studies at the Faculty of Engineering. So please go ahead and check those out. So sometimes students want to know what it's like to study in Sweden. It could be different from your home country, or it could be quite similar, depending on where you are from. I'm just going to tell you a bit about general basics, I would say, about studying in a degree program in Sweden. First of all, I think it's important to note that it's very common that people take one course or subject at a time. So it's not like you have 10 or 12 different courses at the same time that you have to juggle. We focus on one course or subject at a time, maybe two occasionally. And these will end with some type of examination or essay at the end of each course that you would take. And the courses can be between 2 to 20 weeks long. I would say 5 weeks or even 10 weeks would be the most common lengths within the degree programs. Some courses in engineering require quite a lot of formal lecture hours per week, maybe up to 30 hours per week you have to spend together with professors and teachers and classmates. But in other subject areas like humanities and social sciences, there may be just 10 to 15 hours per week in the classroom, and the rest of the time you have to do your own reading, basically. And commonly, this is done together with your classmates because there's a lot of group work involved. And it's very common that group work is an essential component of many programs, actually. Now, you may want to know how many students will be in my class if I apply to this program or that program, and that varies quite a lot. Some programs may just have 10 students in class. Some programs have 100 students. So I would say it depends quite a lot on the major that you're pursuing and the course that you're taking, because sometimes a course can be taken by students from many different programs at the same time, for instance. I would say the most common size of a class would be around 25 to 30 students. And as we said before, or as I said before, there's a lot of group work. And the purpose of the group work, of course, is to prepare you for your future career, because you learn how to collaborate and interact with people coming from lots of different backgrounds, both academic and geographical backgrounds. So it is quite interesting to get all these perspectives from students coming from all over the world in the same classroom. And we believe that this is something that prepares our students very well for a career after their studies, because when you go out there and you apply for a job in maybe in multinational companies, you're going to have to deal with people who come from many different backgrounds, and you're well prepared for that if you have already tried it during university studies. Students are expected to be active in the classroom and take a high degree of responsibility for their own studies. Now, just a bit more about living expenses in particular, because we've already covered the tuition fees for the students who are fee liable. We recommend a monthly budget of around 9,000 Swedish krona, which is around 900 euros, 900 US dollars, to cover accommodation, food, books, transportation, etc. I think Lund is, or Sweden is kind of known internationally as being a rather expensive country, but I personally believe this is based mostly on, stories you hear about maybe tourists who went to Stockholm, the capital city, and they found some, everything expensive. But capital cities are expensive compared with most other cities in the country. So Lund is far cheaper to live in than, for example, Stockholm or Copenhagen, the other big capital in the region. So 900 euros, maybe a bit more, is what we recommend per month. And this is also something that you will need to have if you need a residence permit to come to Sweden. The Swedish migration agency will ask you to have a certain amount of money in your bank account before you can come here. And this money is for you to fund your living expenses. And you must have this money before you make your residence permit application, of course. I think, generally speaking, in my opinion, and I travel quite a lot, or used to travel before COVID, Sweden is actually slightly cheaper than most people expect. But two things are usually more expensive than in other countries, and that is going to restaurants and taking a taxi. So these two things, if you can avoid them, please do. That will be kind of a key to saving money, I would say. And it is also quite common, speaking of restaurants and food, most of our students cook their meals by themselves. And this applies to both international students and local students. In order to save money, it's best to cook your own meals, or most of your own meals anyway, in order to save money. And groceries in Sweden, in my opinion, are not expensive. So a little bit about accommodation and insurance. For non-EU fee-liable students, we have a housing guarantee. So if you are fee-liable, you pay tuition fees to study in Sweden or study in Lund, you will have a housing guarantee. You will get your own private single occupancy dorm room, or corridor room, as we call it. And these rooms are like, it's a bedroom with a desk and a bed, of course, a chair, a lamp, etc. Usually with a private bathroom, but sometimes in some corridors, you will need to share a bathroom with other students, depending on where you end up. It is very common that you would share a kitchen, sometimes some type of living room style area as well with other students. And this is quite interesting, of course, because you will live with people who are coming from many different backgrounds, who are studying many different majors. So this is also, I think, a fun place to be in order to expand your social network. Now, the dorms we have, or the corridor rooms, they are scattered actually all over the city. So you should not expect that your dorm will be right next to the place or your department where you will do most of your studies here in Lund. Most people will have to commute between their dormitory and their department here at Lund University. The rents are typically around 3,600 to 5,200 Swedish krona per month for a single occupancy room. So this all depends on, the quality of the dorm, basically, the location and all the amenities that are available to you. At the cheaper end, it's more basic, I would say. And I think many people would like to spend as little as money as possible on accommodation, and you can apply for the cheaper units then. For the more expensive units, they are usually more like studio apartments that have your own small kitchenette and your own private bathroom, etc. It is possible for our students to rent apartments on their own while they are here, but if you don't have any friends before coming here and you don't know anyone in Lund and it's kind of difficult to find a place, I would actually recommend quite strongly that you stay in one of our corridor rooms provided by the Lund University Accommodation Agency. Also, students are fee-liable are covered by an insurance called the FAS Plus at no extra cost. So you don't have to, and this is also true for students who are not fee-liable. They have another type of insurance called Student In. So you do not have to purchase or pay any extra for insurance when you come here. Now, in order to help students who must pay tuition fees, we have something called the Lund University Global Scholarship Program for excellent students. And this can help you cover 25%, 50%, 75%, up to sometimes 100% of the tuition fee, actually. But it's not for your living expenses. So this program is just there to help you with the tuition fees. Now, the Lund University Global Scholarship is awarded based on merit, academic merit. It's not a needs-based program, it's a merit-based program, and your motivation to study and learn. And we award, I think this year, around 20 million Swedish krona to the new incoming students. And we typically just award this scholarship to students who have Lund as their first-hand choice when they make their applications to Sweden. Sometimes we have some money left over for scholarships, and we try to give this out to second-year students, but this is quite a limited opportunity. The opportunity exists, but it's limited. So if you don't get it the first year, there will be a chance maybe to get a scholarship the second year, but it's a pretty small chance. Now, there are other opportunities for students, sometimes depending on what country you come from. You have, for example, the Swedish Institute Scholarship for Global Professionals available, which is a very generous scholarship program, but that is just open to students from 40-something countries from around the world. Sometimes students can get a scholarship from their own home country. The government may have a scholarship program that we either work with or we do not work with. They can still fund you. And in some countries, you can get a bank loan or grant in order to fund your stay here in Sweden. I would say if you're coming to Sweden next year, it's certainly high time to start looking at different funding options, because relying 100% on being able to get a scholarship is maybe not entirely realistic. So look at different funding options and have a backup plan if your plan A doesn't succeed. Now, when can you make your application? Right now, it's not possible quite yet to make an application for international degree programs that we are arranging for you in 2023, but we will open for application in the middle of October this year. So there are still several more months for you to prepare your application and have a look at our entry requirements, etc., before you actually make your application. But starting from mid-October, I don't have the exact date here yet with me, but it's usually around the 15th of October. The application system opens, and we stay open until mid-January 2023. Now, applications are made through university admissions in Sweden. There's a website that all Swedish universities are connected to and that we use together, universityadmissions.se. So that is where you will go and make your actual application for a degree program or a course here at Lund University. You can apply to several choices. If you apply for the master's level, there are 4 choices that you can have, 1, 2, 3, 4. Different master's programs, either in Lund or a combination of different Swedish universities, but you will have to rank your choices. So your top choice, your favorite program, the program you really want to get into the most, it has to be ranked as number 1. And then your second, third, and fourth choices, if you decide to apply for many programs, they will be your backup options. There is an application fee of 900 Swedish krona for fee liable students. If you're non-EU, EEA, you're most likely fee liable, and then you would have to pay the application fee to university admissions in Sweden. And we don't have tuition fee waivers application fee waivers. All students who must pay the application fee, they would have to do so. Then there's a deadline around the 1st of February, and this is to be confirmed, the actual day for next year. I don't have that information here today because it hasn't been published yet by University Admissions in Sweden. But usually around the 1st of February, that is the deadline for you to submit your supporting documents. And in most cases, these can be uploaded as a PDF format to the University Admissions in Sweden website. But it's very important for you to find out, A, what are the rules for my country where you studied before, and B, the program-specific documents, how should they be provided? Because even though 95% of them can usually be uploaded to your application account, in some cases, programs require that you provide documents in a different way. Then there is a waiting period of around 2 months between February the 1st and early April, when we usually announce the admission results for master's level. Bachelor's level applicants typically have to wait a little longer until mid-April to find out if they're admitted or not. Now, please check the eligibility criteria carefully before you make the application, and don't forget the deadlines, because these are sharp deadlines that I have mentioned here. Do not try to go beyond these deadlines because there's a risk your application can't be considered. Now, I've told you many times throughout this presentation about university admissions in Sweden. So this is the national application system, the national application portal. You can go there today if you want to find information about studying in Sweden and so on, and what kind of documents you need to provide, and I encourage you to do so. But this is where you will eventually have to go to actually apply to one of our degree programs. So you can find them here after we open for application in the middle of October. So what is the role of university admissions in Sweden, you might ask, because they collect the applications, you might say, and they do the first screening of applications to make sure that you are eligible for university studies in Sweden based on the rules of your home country and also English language proficiency. So they will check your official documents, the documents that have been issued, your transcript, your diplomas, etc., and also proof of English, and they will register these merits. And we do not actually receive your application until they have approved these merits, your official documents from your home university or upper secondary school, and your English language proficiency. So when they have approved these merits, the programs here in Lund and the other universities that you may apply to, they will receive the application to the program, and they will check that you fulfill the requirements of the program that you have applied to. Please note that the supporting documents that you hand in must be provided in the way described by university admissions in Sweden. I could just say, for example, that they do require that you use only original documents in support of your application. So don't use, copies of documents or copies of copies or anything like that. Take your original diploma, your original transcript, scan it as a PDF in color, and upload it. It has to be the original documents that you use. And then, of course, any program-specific documents must be provided in the way demanded by the program that you're applying to. So if there are problems with your application, for example, university admissions in Sweden say, "Ooh, we cannot approve this document for this or that reason, please provide a new one." This has to be done before the document deadline, which is usually around February the 1st, in order for you to be able to proceed with your application and for order for us to consider your application. The one way we have to communicate with you throughout the application process, and also university admissions in Sweden, of course, is your email. So the email address or the email account you use when you sign up for university admissions in Sweden, that is how we communicate with you. So please do not ignore this inbox. You would have to check it on a weekly basis throughout the application process to receive information from us and from university admissions in Sweden about the status of your application, for example. Now, we're nearing the end of the PPT. I know it's been me talking for a very long time here before being able to have a look at your questions, but I just want to summarize I think some of the most important points that I've made during this presentation about why students should consider applying to Lund University. Well, first of all, it's a very highly ranked university in the world, top 100 according to most rankings, and certainly the most international university in Northern Europe. As I said, we're currently ranked as the 49th most international university in the world, and one of the top ones in Europe. So this is a highly international university that is well established, well respected, and it's just a prestigious choice, I would say. In Sweden, it's known as one of the most traditional and prestigious universities, and this is something we're very proud of. It's our history, basically. We're also a very strong research university, of course, with very strong research environment. So the labs, the equipment, the professors are all, top notch, basically. So you can expect to be exposed to the latest finding in various research areas that are relevant for your program, and your teachers will know, they will have all the latest knowledge about what's going on in their research areas. Lund is very international, as I said, and that also goes for language wise, because people here speak English. Most of us working here at the university and the students, we communicate in English all the time. Of course, in the programs, it's just English. In your social life, or if you're out on the town, you go to the post office, you go to the grocery store, you use English. It's fine everywhere. So do not worry about not being able to speak Swedish. It's not necessary to live here comfortably and easily, I would say. And also Lund, of course, again, it's a real proper university town where most young people are actually university students. And it's so interesting, stimulating to meet with these people coming from different, well, both, nationalities and also subject and majors. Because you will not just meet people who are in your major, you will meet people who are, engineering, science, law, humanities, etc. And it's just a very stimulating environment to be in with so many well-educated and smart people around. So I think that's one of the top reasons actually to choose a place like Lund, a historic university town. Now, there are a couple of things I want to mention before I finish the PPT. First of all, I know that it's very interesting for prospective students to speak with our current students, and it's possible to do so. We have a system called Unibody on our website, where you can connect with students coming from all over the world, representing basically all continents and many different countries around the world, and also many of our international degree programs. So if you have questions that you want to ask to maybe someone coming from your home country, regardless of the program they're in, or if you want to ask a question to a student in a certain program, regardless of where they come from, you're welcome to join the Unibody chat system, which can be found on our website. So lunduniversity.lu.se/chat current students. Sign up for Unibody account and start chatting with our current student ambassadors. They're a great, friendly bunch of people coming from all over the world. Also, of course, some people love to use Instagram, and Instagram is also something that has gained quite a lot of popularity among all social media in recent years. So if you want to see what life as a student in Lund is like, you can check us out on Instagram at Lund University and see, because we usually have many student ambassadors posting images there about their life in Lund, social life and also academic life, etc. So this is a very good source of information, I would say, and inspiration perhaps, more than anything else, about what it's like to stay in Lund as an international student. So please do check us out on Instagram at Lund University. You may also, of course, contact me or one of my colleagues in the International Marketing and Recruitment team via email. degreestudies@lu.se is how you reach us. If you send an email to this email address, your email will get forwarded to the colleague who is responsible for your country or region. So we hope to be able to help you through email first and foremost. Now, thank you for listening patiently and for a very long time on me talking about Lund University and life in Sweden as an international student. I would like to actually stop sharing my screen here and go to the Q&A to have a look at your question. I can see Maria, my colleague, has already perhaps had a look at some of your questions. We have some questions here. The questions in the Q&A, you are able to, I hope, upvote them. So if you find a question in the Q&A that you think it's a very good and relevant question, and you'd like to answer this question, or you'd also like to listen to an answer to this question, please upvote that questions rather than typing in the same question again. But I'm going to go from the top, and we have a question here. I wanted to apply for a master. What exams I have to give, and are there any scholarships? I'm an Asian student. Well, Chayank, for the master's level, first of all, I don't know where you have studied before. You just say Asia, but depending on what country in Asia you have studied before, you need to find out if you're eligible or not by going through university admissions in Sweden. So university admissions in Sweden, there you can see the rules for the country where you have studied previously. And then, of course, you have to check the entry requirements of the program that you're interested in. So if you go to our website and you see a program, this program, that's what I'm interested in, check the entry requirements. It's super important that you fulfill the entry requirements of the program before you make an application. And scholarships are available for our fee-liable students. The Lund University Global Scholarship, which is our local scholarship program, but there may also be others. Haruna is asking, please, I would like to help with the admission application fee waiver. Haruna, unfortunately, we do not have application fee waivers. You pay the fee to university admissions in Sweden, it's collected by them. So it has nothing to do with the university. So unfortunately, we cannot offer any application fee waivers. Georgios Raftulis, are there any programs free without tuition fee? Well, the tuition fee depends on your nationality, basically. So if you have EU or EEA citizenship, if you're a citizen of a country in the European Union or European Economic Area, you are fee exempt, and there are no tuition fees. So the tuition fees are for students coming from outside of the EU or EEA area. Yes, thank you. Arya Pan is asking, when I was a freshman, I studied journalism. Later, I found that it was more interested in information technology. Can I sign up for information technology at Lund University? Well, Arya, again, it relates to the entry requirements of the program that you're considering. If you go to the program that you are interested in and you check the entry requirements, they will tell you exactly what kind of background you need in order to be eligible for that particular program. And sometimes some programs can admit students from many different backgrounds, but sometimes it's very narrow. You must have a certain background and a certain major. So that depending on the actual program that you're interested in, you're going to have to find out what the entry requirements are for that program. Chayan Verma is asking, is the selection procedure competitive? Yes, it's usually very competitive. Most of our programs have a competitive selection procedure, as you call it. But of course, it's more competitive in the programs that receive a lot of applications. And since we have a lot of programs in a lot of different subject areas, not all of them are equally competitive, I would say. So it depends a little bit on the subject and the program that you're applying to. But our top programs are super competitive to get into. And you have to really show them that you have what it takes to be a strong candidate or a successful candidate that they can consider for admission. So you check the selection criteria and make sure that according to these selection criteria, you can present yourself as a very strong candidate for a program, then you have a chance to be admitted. Arshani is asking, do we need to have a related bachelor's degree to follow service management, tourism, Master of Science program? Harshani, again, the admission requirements or the entry requirements to the individual programs are posted on the program webpage. So if you go to the Service Management Tourism Master of Science program webpage, you will see what type of background you would need to be able to be considered for admission. Typically in service management, you need kind of a social science / business admin background. So it's fairly broad, I would say, but they do have entry requirements that must be met in order for you to be considered. Hello, I'm Hyra. I'm interested in applying for LLM program in European Business Law. According to the LLM brochure available on your website, the LLM program in European Business Law does not require a recommendation letter, statement of purpose, and CV. Is that still applicable for autumn semester 2023? Well, Hyra, I don't believe that to be true, actually. They do require at least some of these things. I'm just going to go check real quickly for you here to give you some concrete information about this particular program. So if I go to their website and I check the section called program specific documents, it says, in addition to the documents mentioned under step 2, you must also submit a statement of purpose and 2 letters of recommendation when you apply to this program. See the Faculty of Law website for further instructions. So the information, I don't know where you received that information that you're mentioning, but it's incorrect. They do actually require both a statement of purpose and letters of recommendation. Jeffrey, Andrea, hi, do we have to choose Lund as our first choice if we want to apply for the Lund University Global Scholarship? I would say in reality, yes. You will need to have a Lund University program as your first choice if you want to be considered for a scholarship. If you have another university as your first choice, it's more likely that you will receive a scholarship from them. So most Swedish universities run the same scholarship policy here. So we want to award the scholarship to a student who has our program as their #1 choice. Georges is asking, in my country, it is 4-year degree, 240 ECTS for the bachelor, I assume, and master program at 90 ECTS 3 semesters. Well, Georges, that is not the case here. For a bachelor's degree, you need 3 years of studies full-time, of course, in Sweden. And for the master's level, you need either 1 or 2 years, depending on the program. And there are 2 semesters per year, per academic year. Hyra is asking, after conducting some research, I found out from following a website, English language requirements, that the university admissions can accept older test results as long as they are available online for verification. Does this requirement for English also apply in the LLM program in Lund University? Well, as I said during my presentation, we follow university admissions in Sweden. They are responsible for verifying your English language proficiency. So if they can accept your old test result as proof of English language proficiency, then we accept it. But if they cannot accept it because perhaps it has expired or it's too old, they can't verify it, then we cannot accept it either. Fatma is asking, is environmental studies and sustainability science master highly competitive in admission as for international students? I would say it's fairly competitive, yes. They do have to make a selection to this program. So it's important that you make a strong and convincing application in order for them to consider you for admission. Otherwise, there is a risk that they will not be able to offer you admission because other students are deemed to be more competitive. Same person, Fatma, what kind of job opportunities may I have after graduating with a Master of Science in Environmental Studies and Sustainability Science? It's a very good question. And I think depending on what you decide to specialize in, perhaps your degree, your future career can go in many different directions. It's very common, of course, that students or graduates from this program would work with issues related to the environment and sustainability, of course, but that can be in like government, research institute, an NGO, or multinational organization, or even private sector company where they have a unit dedicated to these issues. So it depends on you and also what you learn inside the program. They have a very large alumni network, this program, and it's one of our oldest international degree programs here in Lund. So I would actually say or recommend that you go to their website to have a look to see what their alumni are doing and get some inspiration and information from that. We have a question, Oyun Kansola, Dada. I studied accounting for a bachelor's degree. Can I apply for entrepreneurship and innovation with an accounting degree? Entrepreneurship and innovation is one of those programs that can accept students from a variety of different academic backgrounds. So I would assume that this is okay. Chayang Burma, 145,000 Swedish krona. Phew, I have to ask PewDiePie to help me. Well, send him, alert him on Twitter to see if he can help you out, PewDiePie. PewDiePie is not an alumnus of Lund University, I might add, but he's a very popular fellow I get on YouTube. Jialing Zhou is asking, I'm in my second year, 3 years in total, of a Master of Horticulture in China. My undergraduate major is biopharmaceutical. Can I come to Lund for a master's degree in plant science next year? Well, it's kind of hard to tell from a short message like this. If you go to the biology plant science program webpage, they will tell you exactly what you need from your academic merits, what courses, how many credits of those courses you must have in order for you to be eligible for the plant science program. So please, I would have to refer you to the webpage of the plant science program. Excuse me. And if you're still having doubts, I would recommend you to contact the program representative for a discussion if you have merits that are useful or not for this particular program. Arya Pan, and I wonder if we have student dormitory. There are so-called dormitories, we call them corridor rooms here at Lund University, provided through our accommodation agency, Lund University Accommodation Agency. But not all students will be able to get a room there. Priority is given to those students who are fee liable, non-EU EEA students. So if you have to pay a tuition fee to study in Lund, you have priority and even a housing guarantee, provided that you apply when we tell you to apply and you follow the instructions, basically. So there is a housing guarantee for some students, but if you don't have a housing guarantee, you will have to find housing on your own. Georgios is asking, can you write us again your email for more questions? It is degreestudies@lu.se. So degreestudies@lu.se, I can actually share it here in the chat. That's typed correctly. Degreestudies@lu.se in the chat. That is where you can send your questions to us. We also have a forum on our website where you can send questions to us, of course. So you can use either. Hannah, if English is our first language and we have taken higher level English in high school, do I still need to take TOEFL or IELTS? Well, Hannah, as I said during my presentation, it depends on the rules for the country where you studied previously. If you have studied indeed in English, you completed your upper secondary school in English, it is quite likely that you will be approved for your English language proficiency without taking the IELTS or TOEFL test. So that is something that you probably don't need to worry about, but please check the country-specific instructions on the University Admissions in Sweden website to verify this before you make your application. Fatma is asking, do you have recommendations for coming to Lund with family members? And thank you very much for the answers you gave. Well, Fatma, thank you for attending as well. It is possible for students to Lund University, international students, to bring dependents, family members like a spouse or child/children. However, I must warn you that we do not have or offer family accommodation. So accommodation is something that you will have to find on your own if you are bringing family members, because the student dormitories, the student corridor rooms, they are single occupancy, so you cannot bring family members into those. So you will have to figure out a way to find suitable housing. Also, of course, if you're bringing dependents with you, you must have additional funding for them in order to get approved for a residence permit in Sweden. Hannah is asking, around how many international bachelor students does Lund take in each year? Well, Hannah, that's kind of a difficult question for me to answer, because at the bachelor's level, we have so many, both, full degree and course students, but also exchange students. I mean, several thousand exchange students at the bachelor's level come to Lund every year from abroad. So I don't have a good answer for you here and now, but I would say at least 1,500 to 2,000, probably, international bachelor's degree students, or bachelor's level students, I might say, because they're not all in the full degree programs. I would probably at the bachelor's level, most international students are actually exchange students. Mohammed is asking, what are the scholarship opportunities for master's course? Well, Mohammed, it depends a little bit on where you come from. If you're a fee liable non-EU EEA student, you can apply for the Lund University Global Scholarship, of course. But then depending on where you are from, you may be eligible to apply for additional scholarships that could be based on your nationality then. It could be, for example, the Swedish Institute Global Scholarship for Professionals, or some other scholarship that may be available for students from your country. On our website, we have information about the different scholarship programs that students may use and apply to. And it could be that you're eligible to apply for more than one scholarship program. And if that's the case, then you may do so. Georges is asking, are living costs covered by the Erasmus Plus program? That's a good question. I think the Erasmus Plus programs are not actually run by us directly here centrally. So I would have to refer you to the specific program that you have in mind, Georges, to ask what kind of funding opportunities they have within that particular program. Jeffrey is asking, what do we need to prepare for the Lund University Global Scholarship? Is it only based on merit and motivation letter? Yes, pretty much, but you have to make an application for it. So the first step, of course, is to make complete program application. The program or programs that you decide to apply to, that is what comes first. So you apply to those programs and you pay the application fee if you have to pay an application fee. Then after that, usually in early to mid-February is when we open for scholarship application. And then it's a very simple application procedure. You need to answer a couple of questions about yourself and your situation, how much you need or you believe that you need, and also provide a motivation letter. That's it. So it's quite easy. And it is awarded based on merit and the motivation letter. Yes. Nguyen Trang is asking, I have a question regarding scholarship of Lund for international students. Does Lund offer 100% or fully funded scholarship for international students? Thank you. Now, it depends on what you mean by 100% or fully funded. If you by fully funded mean a scholarship that would cover both your tuition fee and living expenses, then no, Lund University does not do that. The Lund University Global Scholarship will help you with your tuition fee, but not the living expenses. However, the Swedish Institute Global Scholarship for Professionals, it is fully funded. So there they would help you with both the tuition fee and living expenses. And I might guess, based on your name, that you come from Vietnam. And I believe that Vietnamese students are eligible to apply for the Swedish Institute scholarship. Andrea Riva, so is it possible to apply for a master's program and a bachelor's program at the same time, in case I'm not admitted to the master's program? I already have a bachelor's degree. Andrea, yes, it is possible for you to apply to both a master's program and a bachelor's program. But of course, the merits you need to provide at these different levels are different. So when you apply for a master's program, you need to provide your bachelor's merits. When you apply for a bachelor's programs, you need to provide your upper secondary school merits. So in case you are applying to both bachelor's and master's level at the same time, you need to provide both your upper secondary school merits, your complete upper secondary school merits, and also your bachelor's level merits. But it is possible for you to do so. User Guest is asking, does Lund University have MBA in CRM, Customer Relationship Management, HRM, Human Resource Management? We do not award MBA degrees here in Lund. We have Master of Science in Business Administration, of course. And there is one particular program I would probably recommend for you, which is called Managing People, Knowledge and Change. Which is a one-year master's program at the Faculty of Economics and Management. So that is related to human resource management. Another question about the scholarship. How can I apply for the international scholarship in Lund University as free of cost? Well, first of all, you need to make complete program application to the program or programs that you're interested in. Then, if you're eligible to apply for a Lund University Global Scholarship, you will be invited to do so usually in early February. And then you make a separate application just for the Lund University Global Scholarship. Jungmin Park is asking, I have a question about the scholarship. Is there a special scholarship program covered with living expenses included in Lund? The Lund University Global Scholarship is just for to help you with the tuition fee. So for other scholarship programs, there is, for example, the Swedish Institute Scholarship Program, but it is only awarded to people from certain countries. And maybe I'm going to take a guess again. Jungmin Park, you may be Korean based on your name. I'm just guessing here, of course, but as far as I know, if you are Korean and it's not included in the Swedish Institute scholarship for global professionals, because that program is designed more for people coming from developing countries. Shinichi Mitsuno, thank you for your presentation. The session was very useful. Well, thank you, Shinichi, for joining us. If I submit my application in October, do I receive the result, the admission result, in April, or do I have a little bit earlier than those who apply in February? Well, Shinichi, the way it works in Sweden is that all students get their notification of the admission results at the same time. So if you apply in October, if you apply in November, if you apply in December, it actually doesn't matter that much for the actual result of your application, because you will get notified at the same time as all other students. Of course, the one advantage you have, if you make an application early and complete it early, then you can get feedback in a timely way from university admissions in Sweden. In case there are issues with your application, there is still plenty of time for you to fix those issues or problems before the document deadline. But the actual result of your application will be announced at the same time as the rest of all students who have made an application in the same application round. Do you have any program for refugees? No, not really. I mean, if you're a refugee, and you can apply to any of our programs just the same as all other students, but there is no particular program that is designed just for refugees. Irene Parkinson, is there any way to know the acceptance rate for the Masters in International Marketing and Brand Management? Thank you very much in advance. Well, thank you, Irene, for your question. I would say, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that if you go to their website for this program, Faculty of Economics and Management, and you search for their programs, International Marketing and Brand Management, they usually publish these statistics on their website the year after they have admitted students. So they would say, for instance, how many students they admitted, how many were male, how many were female, etc. So there are some statistics like that available. But I have to say, international marketing and brand management is usually one of our most popular choices. So it is highly competitive to get in. It doesn't mean it's impossible to get in, but it is a competitive program. Damien is asking, do you have facilities to make learning for a special person, like physically challenged people, and what are the chances of getting admitted and perhaps a scholarship? Thanks. Well, if you have some kind of troubles getting around, for instance, or some kind of handicap, you may get help from the university, depending on your specifics. You know, it's very hard to say before you come here what type of help you're eligible for. But as far as the admission and scholarship situation is concerned, there are no special rules for people who have any form of handicap there. Okay. Karen Chen, is work experience references considered in the selection process for the Master of Science in International Marketing and Brand Management? Work experience is not required, and they do not need. Well, you can put references on your CV, of course, but they will not, I believe, check those in the application process. But you are required to submit a CV with your application and also a statement of purpose to this particular program. So the statement of purpose for International Marketing and Brand Management, they have a template. I think it's a Word document or maybe a PDF with a bunch of questions that you need to answer and attach your CV as well. And I think they also publish selection criteria on the program webpage, where you can see how much weight is given to, for example, GPA, how much is given to the statement of purpose or the program-specific document, etc. So you can go to the International Marketing and Brand Management website and see how they select their students. You're mentioning the GMAT score. If you have one, that is considered more or less a bonus, but because it's not an admission requirement, it's also not mentioned in the in the selection criteria. Deshinta is asking, I want to take an MBA in Sweden. Is it need GMAT or GRE? Well, we do not award MBA degrees here at Lund University. So I don't know whether or not there are any other Swedish universities you may want to look at. Emma Kaminsky, hello, looking to apply for a bachelor's degree. I'm currently living in Germany, but my high school diploma is Dutch. Do I need to get my high school diploma translated before I apply? Yes, I do believe you need to get your diploma and transcripts translated to English. That is my recommendation. Because I don't believe that university admissions in Sweden, that they have people perhaps who understand and can read the Dutch language. So please do translate your documents to English. Sartak Makesar is asking, is there a way to express interest in a particular course, statement of purpose, to support my application, even if it's not mentioned? I'm not entirely sure I understand your question, Sartak. Of course, you can express your interest in the statement of purpose, but usually for the statement of purpose, most programs that we have will give you some instructions. Like if they require a statement of purpose, they would say either provide a template or give you instructions for what you should write about in the statement of purpose. Sometimes I know that they just say provide a statement of purpose. But of course, the content of the statement of purpose has to be very relevant for the program that you're applying to. Your reasons for wanting to take this program, your experience or academic kind of background, how it's related to the major that you want to take here, and what you intend to do with this if you get admitted. So I would say in the statement of purpose, focus on the program that you're applying to. Georges is back asking, I'm interested also for a fee waiver if it's included in Erasmus programs. Georges, if you're wanting to apply to an Erasmus program, I would have to refer you to the program itself because we do not handle those applications here centrally. Charles Christopher, I got my master's degree from a university ranked among the top 30 in the world with a GPA of 3.6. The department hasn't even read my messages for a year. Should I come to Lund University? I really don't understand why. Well, Charles, I don't know exactly what you're referring to here. If you have tried to contact one of our programs or departments and they haven't responded to your query, you're welcome to contact my department, International Marketing and Recruitment, and we'll do our best to help you to see if there's anything we can do, or we have to refer you back to the program. I don't know, as I said, the background of your story here, but you're welcome to contact me or one of my colleagues, and we'll do our best to help you. Thank you. Birhane Gebru is asking, how is it like to study PhD scholarship after completion on international trade policy and trade law from Lund University? Is there an opportunity for a fully funded program? Thanks. Well, Birhane, it's difficult to say because they can only offer you admission to a PhD position if they have funding available when you are graduating or have graduated from the program. If they have funding for a PhD position, you may then apply to the PhD position in competition with other students. So there is no kind of direct guaranteed link between finishing a master's program and entering a PhD position at Lund. You have to apply to the PhD position that is available in competition with other students. Then Godamune Chulnaga are there Buddhist studies program or religious studies program for PhD degree? Well, we do have faculty of humanities and theology, and of course they do have studies there or PhD programs within religion. And if you want to focus on Buddhism, I don't know if they have that currently, but you may check with the department to see if they have any available PhD positions. I would probably guess that they have rather few available PhD positions in this department, but it could happen, and we do have such a department. Samson is asking, can I apply for the program Masters of International and European Business Law and Business Law being offered for the first time in autumn? I think maybe we are confusing two different programs here. European and International Trade and Tax Law is perhaps the one you are referring to, if I'm not mistaken. If you can apply to it, yes, you can apply to it, provided, of course, that you fulfill the entry requirements. And they have a slightly different entry requirements here. Either you need an undergraduate degree in law or a degree in economics, business administration, political science, or international relations, where law is included as one subject. So Samson, if you have that, you may, of course, apply. Janelle Griffith is asking, are there provided activities, sports from the university? Well, not perhaps the university itself, but there are many student clubs and student societies here in Lund. We have something called Nations. I believe there are 13 different nations, student clubs that you can join, and these all have various activities for our students, including sports, of course. I think most sports are probably represented here in Lund because we have students coming from all over, basically. So any type of sport or sporting activity would probably be possible for you to engage in, but it won't be provided necessarily by the university per se. I know in some countries it's very common that maybe a school, they would have their own football team and their own swimming team, etc. But in Sweden, it doesn't work like that. So any type of sport activity would happen outside the university. Lisa Wayland is asking, hi, I want to apply for a second master in Lund for 2023, but for my first master, oops, sorry, question disappeared. Yeah. Jonathan Case, thank you for the very informative presentation. I will complete my secondary school education in June 2023 in Ireland. I will get my results in early September 2023. This is after the Lund semester starts. You mentioned you do not offer conditional admission. No, Jonathan, unfortunately, we do not. I would say you can try to apply for, there are two admission rounds in Sweden. One is for like the main international application round, which I mentioned in my presentation, which is open between mid-October and mid-January. But then there is a so-called second admission round, which is usually open between the middle of March until the middle of April in 2023 then, which is mostly designed for students who are Swedish high school students basically, but can also be used by citizens of other EU countries who want to join us here. The problem is that the offers are sent out quite late. And I think the problem is if you get your results in September, this is rather late, actually too late for us to evaluate your application. So unfortunately, Jonathan, I would have to say you would probably need to wait until 2024 if you want to apply for admission to Lund, and then use the main international application round first and foremost, which will be open, I think, between mid-October 2023 and mid-January 2024. Mehdi Hassan, hi, can you please tell us about settlement options for international students after graduating in business management related fields? Well, it's kind of hard to say for any particular field or subject area that you may be interested in. But what I can tell you is that when students have successfully completed their degree program in Lund, they may apply for a so-called job seeking permit, which would be valid for a full year. So if you successfully complete your studies and successfully apply for a work-seeking permit, you may stay in Sweden 12 months after you finish your degree program and look for a job or try to establish your own business. Mohammed Shoaib Rasa, I hold a bachelor's degree in biology without honors and currently pursuing an MA in international relations. Will I be eligible for MA in Middle Eastern Studies at Lund? Actually, Middle Eastern Studies is a program that is open to students coming from quite a lot of different subject areas. So the entry requirements actually just say, to be admitted to this program, students are required to have a bachelor's degree equivalent to 180 credits. So that is the only entry requirement. They do give, I believe, it's good if you have some experience from the region, from the Middle East, and know a language, or at least familiar with one of the languages there. But it should be okay for you with your background to apply for the Master's in Middle Eastern Studies. Oyun Kansola Dada, can we apply for more than one scholarship opportunity? Well, you can, if you're eligible, you can apply to as many scholarship programs that you can. There is no like thing where we say if you apply to this program, then you can't apply to that program, etc. But depending on the scholarships, you may, if you are lucky and you get awarded many different scholarships, you may probably just keep one of them in the end, the most generous one from your perspective. But it is possible for you, depending on where you're from and your situation, to apply for more than one scholarship program, provided that you're eligible, of course. Harshani is asking, this is not related to master's admission. There are professional education open admission courses listed in the website, like short courses. Can we apply for them as well? E.g., developing digital strategy to drive international growth. I'm not entirely sure where you found those courses, but I do believe that they will describe who is or isn't eligible to apply for them and the entry requirements. I'm not sure if this is where you found this information, I can't say, but any course or program, they would have certain eligibility requirements, of course, and an application procedure. So you would have to ask the person or the organization who is offering this course to answer your questions here. I'm sorry, I cannot answer this here now. Kusama Siddiq, is master's program in pharmaceutical technology, discovery, development, production highly competitive in admission as for international students? And does Lund University approve of working and studying at the same time? Thank you. Well, thank you for your question. I believe it is quite competitive. This is a fairly new program. They've just been running it for a couple of years, but there's a very strong demand for graduates of this particular program. And for that reason, it is quite competitive to get admitted to it. Again, competitive, but not impossible. So if you have a suitable background, you fulfill the requirements, and you make a strong and convincing application, you certainly have a chance to be selected for admission. Now, your second question relates to working and studying at the same time. Yes, it is possible for our students to study and have a part-time job. But of course, studying is very intense. It's going to take most of your time. Working part-time could be possible if you can find a job, but you have to, juggle your work life with your life as a student. And of course, we only recommend here that you focus on your program, because it's very important that you focus on this 100%, that you manage to complete it in a timely way. But if you have extra time and you can find a part-time job, then yes, it's legal and possible for you to work. Ven Godamune, I applied a few months ago for PhD in Buddhist Studies program, but my application was rejected due to some reason. My application. Is it possible for me to apply next intake without making any mistake in my application when applying for it? Well, if it's offered again, Ven Godamune, then of course you can apply for it without making the same mistakes as you mentioned here. But I mean, this discussion is really something that you would need to have with the department directly, because they are in charge of the PhD position and the admission process. So they would be able to guide you in a much better way than I can here and now, because our department, my team, we do not handle PhD applications. Sartok is asking, what is the intake number of students for the physics bachelor degree program? I'm sorry, I don't have that statistic information here with me right now, and I cannot answer that question. You may write to us, Sartok, and I can try to dig out that information for you. Yvonne Addison, I read a BA top-up degree in communication studies, public relations major, with a grade of second class upper for 2 years and graduated in 2019, but read diploma in communications earlier before the top-up degree. Do I still qualify to apply for a master's in Sweden? Yvonne Addison, I'm sorry, it depends on the rules for the country where you completed your studies. So I would advise you to go to university admissions in Sweden and you search for the country where you studied previously and see what is required for students coming out of this country, what types of degrees are recognized as full valid bachelor's degrees, and then try to figure out if you're eligible or not to apply for a master's. Ebose Olanike Efosa, I have a special interest in studying economic growth, population, and development. Please, how do I connect with an advisor? Thanks. Well, if you want to get general information and advice, you can contact me or one of my colleagues at the International Marketing Recruitment team. But if you absolutely have to contact someone at the program, their contact details are available on our website. If you go to this program page, you will see there is contact information, and there's usually 1 or 2 people that you can connect with if you need help related to this particular program. Holly is asking, I would like to apply for the Embedded Electronics Engineering Master Program. Can I find previous acceptance rate statistics? Holly, I may be able to help you with that, but I cannot do it here and now because it would require me to go through some websites and systems that are quite time consuming to use. So if you write us an email, I'll try my best to help you. Julia Caruana, for the recommendation letter, can I ask any professor, even if he or she doesn't have much to do with the subject of the master, or is it suggested to have it written by someone related to them? Thank you. Julia, to the best of my knowledge, that is not something that we actually specifically require. For example, if we say we need 2 recommendation letters, you can use the recommendation letters provided by professors that are comfortable issuing such a letter for you. So it doesn't necessarily have to be someone who is a professor in the subject or major that you're applying to here in Lund, if we do not specifically ask for that. Karen Chen, for non-EU students, how do we convert our undergraduate units to ECTS to know if we have met the credit requirement? Well, Karen, it's kind of, this is something that we don't provide a comprehensive guide for all students on how to do this. And I would actually have to refer you to your favorite internet search engine and simply type how to convert my country's credits to ECTS and follow a guide that you would find there, a credible guide, of course, to learn about how to convert credits from your country to ECTS. Dayu Kuryu, how competitive is language and linguistics, especially specializations in cognitive semiotics and general linguistics? Kind of hard to tell. They have very specific entry requirements to this program. So if you do fulfill these entry requirements, I can see that Maria, my colleague, is typing an answer here to you as well. I don't think it's a big program. So students, it's not competitive in that sense that you have, thousands and thousands of students all applying to the same program at the same time. But if you do have the correct background for this program and you fulfill the entry requirements, you're welcome to make an application and, try to get admitted. Irene Parkinson is back. Sorry, just one more question. I promise. I welcome your questions, Irene. I know that you have already pointed out the short distance between Lund and Copenhagen. But do you think it would be feasible to live in Copenhagen and pursue a master's in Lund? Thank you very much. Well, Irene, it is feasible, of course. I mean, you will have to face a commute every day of maybe 45, 50 minutes or something like that from central Copenhagen to Lund by train. But students do, I mean, especially Danish students who study in Lund, perhaps they prefer to live in Denmark. In the greater Copenhagen or the Copenhagen region, it is possible to commute. The one thing I would point out, though, is that you may miss out on, I mean, student life is very special here in Lund. So socially, you may miss out on some activities, but just for studying, it is certainly possible to commute from Copenhagen to Lund. Alessia Salzano, I have 2 bachelor's degrees. Do I need to provide transcripts and diploma certificates of both when applying, or just the one that is more related to the master I would like to do? Thank you. Well, Alessia, I mean, if you can provide for both, please do. But if you cannot, or if it's a hassle, just provide the one that is relevant for the program that you want to take here in Lund, provided, of course, that all degrees all documents that are required to prove your eligibility are actually available. I think, generally speaking, it's always better to provide slightly more documents than perhaps necessary, rather than risk sending too few. But of course, if you have 2 completely different full bachelor's degrees, then perhaps sending just the one that is relevant makes more sense. Carlos is asking, do you have a gymnastics team? The university does not have a gymnastics team. As I mentioned previously, we don't run any sport teams at the university. But of course, in Lund, there are many different sports that you can engage in, including, of course, gymnastics. But that is something you would have to look for outside of the actual university. Josephine Babaloa, how can I find the previous acceptance rate statistics for Master of Science in Food Technology and Nutrition? Josephine, I would have to ask you to write to us outside of this session for help with how to find that information, because here and now I cannot dig out that information because it's too time consuming. Jaling Joe, thank you for answering. Well, Jaling, thank you for joining our session. And now, Josephine, thank you. We don't actually have any open questions. So we actually have a bit more time if you would like to just ask a couple of final questions here. And Rachel, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining. I know there was a lot of information, and I'm sorry I couldn't help you with every single question you have, because sometimes the information that you need is not immediately available to me here and now, basically. But if you contact us outside of this session by either sending us an email or using the form on our website, lunduniversity.le.se, it's possible to contact us. Or if you'd rather speak with one of our student ambassadors through the Unibody system, it's also possible to do so via our website. And I do recommend that because they're a terrific bunch, and they're very helpful. Haoli has a question here. I used to transfer from one university to another university. When calculating the GPA, do I have to calculate for both or only the one I graduated? Well, Haoli, we do not require you to calculate your GPA, I believe, unless the program that you're applying to is asking you to do so. But this can be explained in your application to the program, that you have GPAs from several different institutions. Jonathan, thank you. How competitive is the Economy and Society bachelor's program? It's quite competitive, I would say. It's not the most competitive because that happens to be international business, but it's still competitive. So it's not the case that all students who are eligible are offered admission. You have to be able to compete with the other applicants to the same program at the same application round. And this is based on your upper secondary school GPA only. So Alessia is asking a relevant question. At the beginning of the presentation, I read that exchange is less common at the master's level. Will students be able to go abroad in other cases then, for instance, for an internship? Alessia, yes, that may very well be possible, but it depends on the program that you're admitted to. Because sometimes for some programs, internships are mandatory, more or less. Some programs, it's possible to do an internship, and in some programs, it's not possible at all to do an internship. And what kind of regulations they have, if you're allowed to do an internship abroad or if it has to be in Sweden, etc. It depends on the program that you're admitted to. So this is something I would recommend that you go to their website to learn more details about the specifics of that particular program that you are interested in. But it is quite common for students to do internship at master's level. As I said in the presentation, exchange is also possible in theory, but because most of the master's programs are short in duration, 1 or 2 years, there isn't often enough time for students to go as an exchange student on master's level. But in some programs, it is offered. Dilraj Singh, how do I prove my English language or the English requirements if the University Admissions in Sweden website states that I don't have to take the specific test to pass the requirement? Well, Dilraj, you still have to prove your English language proficiency then, either through your previous academic merits. It could be through upper secondary school merits or previous university studies. And as long as you fill those requirements that they have on the University Admissions in Sweden website, that is enough to if you believe that you can prove your English proficiency through your previous academic merits, then that is enough. Janelle, is there a closed number of students admitted for different programs? I'm not really sure I understand your question completely. If you mean that a program can only offer admission to a certain number of students every year, then yes, that is the case. A program will know in advance how many students they can admit. Like they have 30 seats in this program, they have 45 seats in that program. But every program is different here, so it's not like all programs have the same number of available positions. Fatma is asking, is there a chance for learning Swedish at the university while studying a master's? Well, Fatma, it depends actually on your residence permit situation and if you are or not able to get a Swedish so-called personal number. If you are eligible to get a Swedish personal number, that is for students who are staying here for more than a year. So if you are in a 2-year program or in a 3-year program, then yes, you will be able to get a Swedish personal number. And through that, you are able to register to learn Swedish free of charge in the municipality where you are staying. Thank you for asking the question. Is the Master of Embedded Electronics Engineering, Holly is asking again, very competitive? It is competitive, of course. Most programs will have to make a selection among the students who are applying. But if you make a strong application, you certainly have a chance to be offered admission. So it's never impossible. Charles, Christopher, do you have a university visit program these holidays? Thank you, because it's important before committing. Well, Charles, we do have this summer, there are a couple of summer tours available for people who are visiting us as tourists, basically. So if you are able to come here in the summer, you can join one of the short tours that we have for you then. But in the summer, I have to warn you that the university is practically closed. So there won't be any, you can't go to, a class or a lecture or anything like that because most people are on holiday then. Is the bachelor's degree in physics a competitive program? Yes, it is competitive. Carlos is asking, if I have done research and it has been published, how can I use it to support my application for a master's program? Well, you can submit the research papers, of course, and mention it in your application, maybe in the statement of purpose that you have done this or on your CV. And I think that could be in some cases very useful, because many of our programs, they like that students have an interest in research. Karen Chen is asking about student life. Does Lund University have a swimming pool that is available for students to train in? Are there also clubs based on students' interests, such as chess club, outdoor club, and the like? Thank you. Yes, Karen. I mean, we don't have our own swimming pool, the university, but there are municipal swimming pools available in and around Lund that you can go to and train if it's just for exercise, or if you want to join a swimming team even, it's possible for you to do so. And I think there are so many students here, so many young people from all over. So all of these interests or hobbies that you described, like chess, or if you want an outdoor/hiking club, etc., you will be able to find those through student clubs and student societies that we have here. And the student, life is one of the reasons that many, at least Swedish students, want to come to Lund, because it's very famous university town, and it's famous for its university social life. Moyosada O, how can I have access to the recordings? Thanks. We might be able to publish this or send this recording after the session. I have to verify that before I commit them. Jialing Zhou, if I have another question. If my majors or bachelor's and master's degree are different, can I apply for a PhD in the relevant program with my master's major? It depends on the PhD position, I would say. If you find a PhD position that you think is relevant or suitable for you, you would have to look at the requirements of that particular position to see if this is possible or not. Nwokoli, Rachel, sir, please, I want to know if I should follow what you just said, that one's monthly expenses should be 9,000 Swedish krona, or I should follow the migration instruction, 9,000 Swedish krona is our recommended monthly budget. So when you apply for a residence permit, you must follow the Swedish Migration Agency instructions. And they require that you have a certain amount of money lodged in your own personal bank account when you make your residence permit application. And the amount of money needed, it depends on the length of the residence permit. So it should be 8,694 Swedish krona per month of the validity of the residence permit that you're applying to. The 9,000 Swedish krona, it's not really related to the residence permit application per se. It's more that our recommendation that you should have that you should prepare to have this amount of money and spend this amount of money per month as a typical kind of student budget. Georges, I'm a lifeguard, so I will definitely visit your swimming pools. Well, Georges, you're welcome to do so. User guest, is for MA specific age required? No, there are no age restrictions to enter any of our degree programs. As long as you fulfill the requirements of the program, you may apply and you have a chance to be admitted. Thank you for the webinar, Moyosade. Thank you. Mario Brezovic is asking my colleague Maria a question. Where can we find information on the total available seats for different programs offered by LU? We are in particular interested in biomedical studies, so biomedicine. I can be wrong here, but I'm not sure that they actually published this number explicitly on the website, say that every year we admit 30 students or 45 students, but it should still be possible for us to dig out that information if you contact us outside of this session. Jialing Zhou, thank you. Thank you for attending today. So, no open questions. Here's a question. I was wondering, Josephine, I was wondering why there are no program-specific documents for Master of Science in Food Technology and Nutrition, because there is no way I can add additional documents. Is it a very competitive course? Well, I mean, different programs have different requirements here. In this particular program, they have decided that they will just evaluate your academic merits in order to decide if they want to offer you admission or not. So they would look to see that you fulfill the requirements, that you have good grades, etc. The selection criteria is where they describe exactly how they admit students. This course is quite competitive, yes, because food technology and nutrition is very strong here in Lund regionally. It's a strong research area, and it's a popular program. Most of our programs are competitive. I received this question a number of times in this presentation, and I think most of you can assume that it's going to be a competitive process to get into. You have to be selected in competition with other applicants, and that is the same for most of our programs. You, sir, thank you for the time to give. Well, thank you, you, sir. Nice to have you here. I think we're more or less nearing the end of this presentation. Thank you very much again. Very kind words. I hope that I was able to share some information at least. Julia Caruana, can I add a CV, even if it's not required in the documentation's requirement? Well, I mean, we only recommend that you actually submit documents that we require explicitly, but it's not going to harm your application if you add a CV, even if it's not mentioned in the requirements. So I cannot actually recommend it, but I can say that no harm. You know, if you want to add a CV to your application, go ahead. Nwokoli, thank you, sir. Thank you, Nwokoli. Rachel, nice to have you here. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Irene, as well. Have a great day, you as well. Yeah. Georges, thank you. Bye, everyone. Yeah, I think we're getting ready to wrap up here. A couple of minutes in advance, but since we don't have any open questions, I think we have emptied the Q&A more or less. So, Mario, thank you. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you for joining. Thanks a lot, Charles, Alessia. Nice to have you here today. All right, thank you, everyone. I'm going to press end soon. Thank you, Josephine. Good to have you here. I hope I was able to provide some information and advice about making the application to Lund University. Best of luck to everyone. We hope to see you here sometime in the future, maybe already in 2023. So have a great day, everyone, and thank you for attending this event.